So we begin by 3 lines from the bottom of Daf Nun Daled Amud Beis at Hahu de Asal the Kamei de Rabbi Avo. We welcome in Dr. Guy Saba Baruchian, and we welcome in Eddie Chazan, Gedalia Engel, Marshall Castle, Irving Fishman, Nachman Chappell, Yisrael Fisher, Berish Gesserman, and Rib Kramer, Michal, Shelley Zeitlin, Mark Frankel, Ruvain Palk, Stephen Holtzman, Shalom Fogel, Rabbi Kranz, Moshe Lehman, Ilya Shutman, Yitzi Muller, Moshe Jacklin, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Abe Arbach, David Helfgott, Ankol Aloshin. We learn with the tefillah that all those are waiting to get into yeshiva should get into yeshiva quickly, easily, with pleasantness. We also want to learn for our Chavar Hadaf, he has Yotzeit, Reb Elia Yafi has Yotzeit, Meir ben Binyamin, Neshama should have an aliyah. It looks like, Rabbi Say, for those that are in the Lakewood territory, that I'll already be back in shul saying shir Thursday night. Thursday night already. I think I'll be in shul probably Thursday through Tuesday night at least. So I know, like when Baruch Ian hears that I'm near the shul, he would never miss coming to shul. But and Moshe Jacklin and Berish and Gedalia and we have other people here, Reb Kramer. Okay, so anyway, now the Gemara tells us Hahuda Asal Kamid Rabbi Avo. Now here again, Marshall comes before Rabbi Avo. Amalei, and just to show you how good friends they are. Amalei, as we welcome in Dr. Black, Amalei, Sefer Torah shekasafti leploini, the Sefer Torah that I wrote for Mark Frankel, Gvilin Shalai, its hides, lo yebaditem lishman, were not made l'shem kedusha Sefer Torah. So basically, the Sefer Torah that Mark paid Marshall $80,000 for is worthless. Here there's nothing to do. The writing is already on it, and it's no good because the cloth wasn't made lishma. So the question, so he asked him, Amalei Sefer Torah biyad mi. Who has the Sefer Torah now? Now, assumedly, the reason why he asked him that is that if it's already in Mark's hands, since it's not in his power to ruin it anymore, he's not believed to say it's no good. So Mark sees light at the end of the tunnel. Amalei biyad lekech. It's already by Mark. Amalei, still, the Sefer Torah is puzzle. Why? Mitoich she'ata nemen lahafzit scharcha, since he's believed to lose his $80,000, because when he says this, he's going to lose his $80,000. So since he's believed to lose his $80,000, we have to be concerned that he's telling the truth. He's believed to cause Mark that the Sefer Torah is possible. So the Gemara says, but earlier we said that if Marshall said that the Shemus were written Shaloi Lishma, he's believed to lose his money, but he's not believed to disqualify the Sefer Torah. So the Gemara asks, why is this different than the din of Rabbi Ami when Marshall said that the Shemus, that Hashem's names are written L'Shaloi L'Shma, he's believed to lose his money, but he's not believed to disqualify the Sefer. Says Gemara Hasam, there, he made a mistake. He thought that he would just be able to go over with a quill all the names of Hashem and write them l'shem kedusha's, the name of Hashem. So he was just vexing Mark a little bit. He didn't think that he was costing himself the $80,000. And that's why, because he could have made that mistake, we believe him to lose the money. We don't believe him to ruin the Sefer Torah. But Hacha came in the Kamafsid Kula Igre here, where it's clear he's going to lose all $80,000, the Asa Amar, and even so he admits to his guilt, then Ema Kushtakama, we have to be concerned he's telling the truth, otherwise he wouldn't have said it to lose all that money, and therefore the Sefer Torah is possible. Okay, now we're going to continue. The whole theme of this parak has been, it's been a very a potpourri of Tikkun Olam. This has been a real walk through Shas. So, Hayed Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada, Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada testified, Ala cheresha shesia avia, that a deaf mute that was married by her father. Now, a deaf mute, in those days, before Helen Keller, there was no way to communicate. So, but a father is licensed midoraisa to marry off his daughter. Now, let's say she grows up and the husband can't take it anymore and he wants to divorce her. So the din is she yaitza beget. He could divorce her. Why? Because even though she's not incompetent and doesn't have das, but you don't need the das of the woman. Val Kitana Bas Yisrael, and a minor, Shenisis L'kai. Now here we're talking about a minor orphan. Her father died, and she was married off midrabanan by her mother or her brothers. So her marriage is rabbinical, and if a marriage is rabbinical, Shenisis L'kayin, that she was married to a kayin, Sheicheles B'truma, she could eat truma drabanan. That means truma b'zman hazeh, or the truma of vegetables and other fruit besides grapes and olives, which is only rabbinical. She doesn't have a biblical marriage, so she can't eat truma deraisa, but she can eat truma derabanan. The chiddush is that we're not geyser truma derabanan to truma deraisa. V'imesa, if she dies, even though it was only a rabbinical marriage, Rabbanan upgraded the marriage to say that Bala Yorsha, her husband, inherits her. And now we have another takana, very interesting takana. You know, Marshall knows this. He's a seasoned thief. That when he steals, he has to, what he steals is be'en. Let's say he steals Eddie's car, and he has the car. He has to return the car, because it says v'heishiv esagzeil. So technically, if Marshall steals a steel beam from Eddie and uses it as the one of the retaining walls of his house, he really should have to wreck his house to return the steel. But we make a takana that otherwise Marshall won't do tshuva. So v'alamorish hagazel, that if he steals a beam from Eddie, shabanu babira, and he built it as the retaining wall of his castle, Marshall Castle's castle, sheyita les damav, that Eddie could accept the money and not insist for the beam back, because otherwise Marshall won't do tshuva. And finally, this is a very interesting halacha. The Gemara has two different ways to learn this. We'll learn it the first way that the Gemara learns it. Valachatas hagzula, a case where Marshall stole an animal. I mean, he ripped Irving off of his animal. Irving wasn't miyayish, or even if he was, but he just yish alone is not enough to acquire. And then Marshall, who was Mechal Shabbos B'Shogeg, used that animal as a chatas. Now really it's no good, because he didn't acquire it. You can't be makdish something that's not yours. But if it's not known to the public, it's not known to three people that it was stolen, they made an institution that it should atone for Marshall and he doesn't have to bring another animal. Why? We're afraid that if it becomes known that it wasn't a good chatas because it was stolen, then it means that the Kohanim ate, because they eat the portion, they ate chulin ba'azara, which is not a good thing to eat, and they'll feel bad. So the Chacham instituted through Hefker Bezdin Hefker that the carbon becomes marshals, and it was a good carbon in order that the Kohanim shouldn't feel bad. And the Gemara will say that this is not just the tikkun for the Kohanim because it's tikkun of his back, because if the Kohanim will feel bad, they'll become gun-shy about bringing karbanas. See what happens? One man in the world. One man. Unbelievable. Now, from the fact that we say that a husband could divorce his wife even though she's a chereshes, so we could extrapolate another halacha. Amar Rava me edusay shel Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada, from the testimony of Rabbi Yochanan ben Gudgada, Amar le'edim. Now here's a man, Chatzkel he can't look his wife in the eye when he's going to divorce her. He wants to divorce her, but he can't face her. He's too ashamed. So what Chatzkel does is, Amar Rava, Meidusel Sharib Yochanan ben Gudgada, Amar le'edim. Chatzkel says to Nachman and Yisrael, you see this? It's a get. He says, Ru'u get zeh shani naisin la. See this paper? It's a get that I'm giving to her. Then, when he comes to his wife, as I said, he can't face his wife and give her the get. And he gives her the paper, and she says, Kinsi shtar chayv zeh. Take this promissory note. So here she thinks he's giving her a present, a promissory note, but he had already showed Yisrael and Nachman that it's a get. Harizug megareshes. Now that means she's divorced even though she doesn't know what hit her. Even though she doesn't know it's a get. Now, this is extrapolated from Yochanan ben Gudgada. Just like he says you could divorce a chereshes even though she's not competent because you don't need the das of the woman. Here too, we don't need her knowledge. We don't need her knowledge. So the Gemara says, well, Pshita, that's obvious. Says, well, it's not so obvious. As we welcome in Avram Allen Weissman joining us. Says the Gemara, it's not so obvious. I might think when he called it a promissory note, he was nullified it as being a get. Since he called it a shtar chayv, betule batle, he nullified it. Kamash Malon, we don't say that because if he was to nullify it, he should nullify it back to Yisrael and to Nachman. The reason why he said a promissory note is, as we explained, Mishum Kisufa, he's ashamed. He's ashamed to look at her in the eyes and give her the get. The Mishnah proceeds and says, continues, Val Kitana Bas Yisrael. Now, it says that a Kitana that's married to a Kohen, rabbinically married by the mother or the brother after the father, Le'aleinu, died, so we said that she's allowed to eat Truma D'Rabbanan. Now really, and this is a very nifty diak that you could miss very easily, really the Mishnah should have said that a Chereshes that was married should be able to eat Truma D'Rabbanan. Why does it say it? Right? Because if a Chereshes is married to Yisrael, their marriage is only D'Rabbanan because they can only gesticulate, right? So it's only rabbinical marriage. It should say that she should be able to eat Truma D'Rabbanan. So the Gemara says, "V'ilu Chereshes lo yachla." But if a Chereshes is married, she can't even eat Truma D'Rabbanan. My timer, why? Gezeira shema yachel cheresh b'chereshes. Because maybe a cheresh a kohen that marries a chereshes might feed her. Now that is a D'Rabbanan. They could also eat Truma D'Rabbanan. They also have a marriage D'Rabbanan. But we're afraid that the cheresh who's incompetent, the kohen, might feed her Truma D'Oraisa. So the Gemara says, yeah, but even if he feeds a truma d'oraisa. The both of them are potter mikol mitzvah shibatayra. V'leichel katan eichel nevelasu. Here's the problem. Gezeira shema yachel cheresh b'pikachas. We're afraid that if a cheresh kohen marries a pikachas, who's again the marriage is only rabbinical, he might come to feed her truma d'oraisa. But as I said, there's no v'lecha but truma d'rabbanan. There could be truma d'rabbanan because they have a rabbinical marriage. But gezeira shema asi l'chulei b'truma d'oraisa, we're afraid they might come to feed her truma d'oraisa. We're not worried about that in the case of the kohen that's married to the ketana, because the kohen knows not to feed her truma d'oraisa. Now let's get to Marshall's thieving ways. V'ala morish hagozel shebanu, and on a beam that was stolen, that was built into the castle residence, we said that Marshall doesn't have to return the beam, he could give the money. Tan Rabbanan, Gozel Morish, if he steals the beam, Ubana Babira, Beishamai says, who cares about the castle residence? Tear it to the ground, raise it to the ground. Mekakeh kol abira kula, it's a mitzvah of Eishav Esagzela Asher Gozel, take apart the whole castle, or Mazir Morish Labalam, and fulfill the mitzvah of Eishav Esagzela. Beisil says, Ein le ela demei Morish, he only has to give back to Eddie the price of the beam, Bilvad Mishim Takanas Hashav, because otherwise Marshall will remain a hardened sinner all his life. Now, let's get to the case of the Chatas Hagzula. Remember, Marshall stole an animal. He also was Machal Shabbos B'Shoigeg, and he dedicated this animal that he stole as a carbon Chatas, and he brings it. So now let's see the parameters over here. V'alachatas hagzula, Amar Ula, Dvar Torah. Biblically speaking, Bein Noida or Bein Loi Noida, whether it was known to the public that it was stolen or if it wasn't known, Eina Mechaperes. It doesn't atone for Marshall. My timer, even though Eddie gave up hope, when the well-known thief, Marshall, took it, he gave up hope. But Yish alone doesn't acquire it for Marshall. My time, Yish Kedi like Kani. And therefore, since it's not his, he can't dedicate it. And therefore, it really isn't a Chatas. Umatam Amru Loi Noida Mechaperes. Why do we say that if it's not known, it's Mechaper? Because if it won't be Mechaper, and it'll be Chulin Ba'azara, then the Kahanim will have eaten sinful food, Chulin Ba'azara. Shelo Yeh Kahanim Atzevim. So the Gemara says, so then it should say Mipnei Takanas HaKahanim. It shouldn't say Mipnei Takanas HaMizbeach. Amlei Rabbanan L'Ula V'anan Mipnei Tikkun HaMizbeach Tanan. It says it's a Takana for the Mizbeach. It doesn't say that it's a Takana for the Kahanim. Says the Gemara, that's what it means. Amalem, Kavan the Kahanim Atzevin, since the Kahanim are going to become gun shy, because look what happens, we ate Chulin Ba'azara, Nimtzah Mizbeach Batal. They won't be serving the Mizbeach. So as I said, this is one way, as we welcome in, it's really nice to have Mo Kushner as our 29th Zoomer of the evening, and Aaron Swade might join us a little later. Aaron Swade has his Navi share on Monday night, otherwise he would be here. So who else are we missing? We're missing other people here. I don't see is Chaim Lerner here? Chaim Lerner isn't here. Mo, you're looking better and better. Sitting upright. I like what I see, Mo. It's good to see that.
Thank you, Rabbi Jack. I'm feeling a little bit better.
Yeah, you look like a new man already. Baruch Hashem. Florida, here you come. Im Yitz Hashem.
Yeah.
Okay, now the Gemara tells us a different way of looking at this. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, Dvar Torah biblically, Bein Noida, Bein Loi Noida Mechaperes. Whether the people know that Marshall stole it from Eddie or he didn't, it atones. Because Rabbi Yehuda holds the fact that Eddie was miyayish makes it Marshall's property. And once it's Marshall's property, then it's a good chatas. My time, Yish Kadi Kani. So then asks the Gemara, then what's the reason? Umatam Amru Noda Eina Mechaperes. Why do we say that if it's known, it's not mechaper? You know why? Because people don't want to say that the Mizbeach is eating stolen merchandise. Because they know Marshall stole it, if it's known, and the Mizbeach accepts it, then he's going to say the Mizbeach is eating stolen merchandise. Really, it's not stolen merchandise, because since Eddie was Miyayish, it became Marshall's possession. But Matam Amr Noida Eina Mechaperes, Lo Yomer Mizbeach Oichel Gezelis. So the Gemara says the problem is, according to this pshat of Rabbi Yehuda, that's not what the Mishnah says. Bishloim al-Ula, who says where it's not known, it's mechaper, even though it's really not Marshall's because of the tikkun of Mizbeach. Hainu diktani chatas. That's why. First thing Gemara says, this is another point. Bishloim al-Ula that says that the issue is that the Kohanim will feel bad because they ate chulin ba'azara. Hainu diktani chatas. That's why it says a chatas, which is something that's eaten by the Kohanim. El Rabbi Yehuda, but according to Rabbi Yehuda, it should say even an oila, which is kula kalul. My area chatas afilu oila nami. Says Gemara, no. Laimi bay kaimer. It builds up to a climax. Laimi bay ula oila the kalali, because the oila goes completely to the mizbeach, and you don't want to say that the mizbeach is eating something that's stolen merchandise. El afilu chatas nami, that only the chel of adam who desaluk legabe mizbeach. It's only the fats, the kidney, the lobe of the liver, and the blood that goes to the mizbeach. V'ida kahanim achlei, the rest is eaten by the kahanim. Maybe we wouldn't be geyser that people will say that the kahanim is eating stolen merchandise. Afilu hachi gazer shelo yomer mizbeach oichel gazelles, that the mizbeach is eating gazelles. Now, again, the Gemara will point out that the pshat of Ula fits better in the language of the Mishnah than Rabbi Yehuda's pshat. Tnan al chatas agzula shenoi noida l'rabim. For the chatas agzula that's not known by the public, shehi mechaperes mipnei tikkun hamizbeach. Now, we said, according to Ula's pshat, the pshat is this is only negeh where it was not known. And the Kohanim ate it not knowing that it was stolen merchandise, and they'll feel bad. So Bishloim el Rabbi Yehuda, but according to Rabbi Yehuda, the takana is where it is known that we shouldn't say that the mizbeach is eating gazelas. El Rabbi Yehuda ibcha mebayilei. So the Gemara says, well, that's how we have to be medayik the Mishnah. Hakanami kamer lo noda mechaperes. If it's not known, it's mechaper. Noda, but if it is known, ain't a mechaperes. Now why? Even if it is known, but since Yish is Kani, it's Marshall's property, so it should be mechaper. But if it's known, it's not mechaper. Mivnei tikkun hamizbeach, that people shouldn't say that the mizbeach is eating stolen merchandise. Now, again, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow night we start the sugya of Kamsa Bar Kamsa, and it is suitable for women to come and listen. It really is. It's a very, very important Gemara and many, many lessons for practical living, for proper living. Also, we are looking for a sponsor for Wednesday night share. If anybody wants to sponsor, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Mosiv Rava. Ganav. Now, Marshall has been very active Marshall stole, he's a regular Robin Hood, this Marshall. He stole an animal from Eddie, the Hikdish, he dedicated it, and then afterwards he slaughtered it or he sold it. Now normally by a Sharon Aseh, if it's slaughtered or sold, you have to pay $1 v'hei. But here, he was makdish it before he slaughtered it and sold it. So Mishalem Tashlumei Kefil, he pays the Kefil for stealing it from Eddie, but Ve'ena Mishalem Tashlumei Arba v'chamisha. He doesn't pay the Arba v'chamisha for slaughtering it or stealing it because he was makdish it before he did that. The Tani Allah, we learned about this, that if he stole it and he was makdish it and he slaughtered it outside, you know, the din is that if something is right to be brought in the oil mayid and you slaughter it outside, that's a very serious sin. That's an Isur Karas. That's one of the 36 Isurei Karas. I told you that Aaron will get back to us when he finishes his Navi Shir. It's great to have you, Aaron. And we are holding by Mosiv Rava, which is 13 lines from the top. 13 lines for the top. 13 is B'gematria Ava. We love Aaron. So 13 lines from the top of Daf Nun Hey Amid Beis. So Mosiv Rava Gana v'Hikdish, Marshall stole an animal dedicated v'Akak Tavach Hamacher, and then he slaughtered it or sold it. Mishalem Tashlumei Kefil, he pays the Kefil for stealing it from Eddie. Ve'en Mishalem Tashlumei Arba v'chamisha, he doesn't pay the $1 v'hei for slaughtering it or stealing or selling it because he did it after he was makdish it. Now, V'tani Allah, if he was makdish it and then he slaughtered it outside of the temple, V'tani Allah b'chutz ki agavna onish karetz. Now the problem is, so if we learn, like Rav Yehuda, that Eddie's Yish alone makes it his, so then that explains why if he's makdish it and then shechts it outside, he's chayv kares, because when he was makdish it was his. He acquired it with Eddie's Yish. But v'i amrit Yish kedi loy kani. But if we say that Yish alone does not acquire, so if it doesn't acquire, as we welcome in Rabbi Kranz now for our 30th Zoomer of the evening, 30 Zoomers. If I didn't know better, I would say thank you to Marsha.
I stole 29 of them and I brought them here.
Yeah.
Real Robin Hood.
Yeah, okay. Listen, could you steal us another 20? It's worth a case of bourbon.
Oh yeah, here we go again.
Listen, you still have some left, right?
Yeah, still got the last bottle. I'm waiting to bring it to Lakewood.
Okay, well, listen, it's high time to get another box. Got to start working. You know, flex your muscles, Marshall. I'll throw in a package of Romanian francs. Says.
I got Mark joining me for this one.
Okay, now. Look at this. Just Yehuda from Yerushalayim. Look at this. I took bourbon, and the board is. Look at this. What's going on over here, Marshall? What are you doing? You're pressing the buttons. Okay, as we welcome in.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, we welcome in Yehuda from Yerushalayim, and I think so anyway. So, but if we hold Yish Kedi is not kinda, so then Marshall can't dedicate the animals, so then he shouldn't be chayiv kares for shchutei chut. So Yish Kedi like Kani, so kares ma'avidati. There's no kares. As Rashi puts it, it's not right to be brought b'fnei oil mayid because it's not his. So then he's not chayiv for bringing it outside. Amar Rav Shizbi. So Rav Shizbi says kares midivrei. It's rabbinical kares. So they laughed at him. Rabbinical chorus? There's no such thing as rabbinical chorus. Achicha like chorus midivrayim miika? Is there such a thing as rabbinical chorus? Rava reprimanded them. Never laugh when a great man says something. Never laugh when a great man says something. Amalu Rava Gavra Rabba Ama Milsa. If Rav Shizbi, a great man, said something like Tachichwala, Korish al Yedei Divrayim Basalai. The chorus comes to marshal because of a takana de Rabbanan. The Rabbanan made it that when he stole it from Eddie, and he was makdish it, they made it to be his through Hefker Bezdin Hefker. They could shift around, money is fungible in the hands of the rabbis, that he should be chayiv chorus for shchutei chutz. Ukmur rabbanim b'reshusei ki heichi de lechayiv Allah. That he should be chayiv on it. So now Rava asks an interesting question. When they made it marshals, did they make it marshals only when he was makdish it? Or did he make it marshals from the time he stole it from Eddie? Amar Rava Havadi Kamabayli Ki Ukmu Rabbanim B'Rishusei, when they made it his, Mishas Geneva, did they make it his from the time of stealing it? As soon as he stole it from Eddie, it became his. Or Mishas Hekdesha, or was it his only from the time of Hekdesh? You know what the nafkamina is? L'may nafkamina, l'gizusei uvladasei. The nafkamina is for shearing its wool and the animal born from the animal. If it's his from the time that he stole it from Eddie, then he only has to return the animal to Eddie. But if he sheared the wool off it and it had a baby, he doesn't have to pay Eddie the baby. He has to pay Eddie for the value of a pregnant animal, but not the baby. But if it's his only from the time of Hekdesh, then he has to pay for the wool that he sheared off beforehand. It only became his when he was makdish. Why? We don't want him to profit. He'll say it's his, so he gets the wool. We don't want him to profit. He's a hardened criminal. Look at him. Look at him. He even looks like he's wearing prison pajamas. Now,
What about the Kohanim who ate it?
What about the Kohanim ate what?
Ate that chatas that is really not a chatas?
Here the Gemara is not talking about Kohanim eating it. It's talking about...
Who's chayv, why is the person chayv kares?
He's chayv kares for shechting it outside the Beis Mikdash. No kohen is going to eat that.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the chatas that he...
No. He shechted it outside of the Beis Mikdash. Now, we begin the sugya of Sikrikun. Sikrikun are goyim who sees through fear other people's fields. Sikrikun is sokarka. They take away other people's fields. Now, there was an institution made after the time of Titus. During the time of Titus, when everybody will see there was a phase where if you didn't kill a Jew, they killed you. Jewish life was worthless, or if you killed a Jew, you had to pay $4. At that time, when a guy came to take your field, you gave it to him wholeheartedly. You said, just take it and spare my family. So then you gave it up wholeheartedly, and you have no rights on it anymore. But after the time of Sikrikis, of Titus, where Jewish life, there was law in the land, and if you killed a Jew, you got killed. So even if a strong man came and took it from you, you had in mind that one day I'll recover it from him. So then they instituted laws of sekrikin, which means that if another Jew, an ambulance chaser, marshal, if another Jew goes and buys the field from the sekrikin, and then it was Baruch's field that he gave up to the sekrikin. And then Marshall, in order to secure it, he goes to get a approval for Marshall. It's okay that I have the field. And Marshall writes it to him. And he pays him a little bit for it. It's meaningless. Because we say that Marshall only wrote it to Baruch because he was afraid that the bandits that took it away from him will get after him if he doesn't give the approval. Baruch, even though he bought it, he has to return it to Marshall, and he loses the money he paid to the sekrikin. Later on, they would institute. However, if Baruch did it the other way around, he bought it first from Marshall and then he bought it from the sekrikin, that works. Later on, they instituted that they saw that people were not, the original owner was not buying it back from the sekrikin, and the sekrikin were having more and more a hold in the real estate of Eretz Yisrael. They then said anybody who wants could go and buy the field. But since the sekrikin came by it freely, he usually gave a 25% reduction. So that 25% you have to give to Marshall. However, that's only if Marshall doesn't have money. If Marshall has money, he has the right first to recover, and even if Baruch buys it, if Marshall has the money, he could buy it back from Baruch. Later on, they said that if Marshall doesn't redeem it within a year, then whoever gets it first could get it first. They just have to give 25% to Marshall. So now let's see this inside the Mishnah. Lo yayu sekrikin b'Yehuda b'arugei milchama. During the era of Titus, when they killed Jews indiscriminately, then when a sekrikin came to Marshall released it without any thought of ever recovering it. So then Marshall loses all rights to the field. However, after that time of terror, when even if a bandit, a strong man, takes it away, Marshall feels it's only temporary, I'll recover it, then yesh ba sekrikin. Then the law of sekrikin applies. What's the law of sekrikin? Ketzad, lokach mesekrikin, if Baruch buys it from the bandit, the chaz of a lokach mebalabais, and then he buys a right for Marshall, says the Gemara, mikay batel. The purchase that Baruch made is voided. We say the reason why Marshall only agreed to it was only because he was afraid of the sekrikin. However, mebalabais, if he bought it first for Marshall, and then because of a lokach mesekrikin, then mikay kai. Now, in the same vein, a man has property that his wife has a lien on for her ksuva. Lokach meneish, if he bought property from the husband, and then because of lokach meneish, he paid the wife money to remove her lien. Mikay batel. That sale by the wife is meaningless because she only did it not to anger her husband. Isha, but if he bought the right to waive the lien from the wife first, the chaz of a lokach meneish, and then bought it from the husband, that's mikay kai. Now, Zu Mishnah Rishayna. This was the first version. Bezdin shalachreim amru, but a later Bezdin said, halakach mesekrikin noisim labalim revia. That Baruch, when he buys it from the bandit, since he's going to get a reduction because the bandit got it for free, he usually gets a sale of 25%. Nois in the Bailam Revere, he gives the original owner, Marshall, 25%. A Masai, but when can Baruch keep it? Bisman she'ein biyadin likach. That's if Marshall, the original owner, doesn't have the money to buy it back. Aval yesh biyadin likach. But if he has the money to buy it back, hein koidman, Marshall has first dibs. Hein koidman the kol adam, and not only that. If later Marshall gets the money, he could insist that Baruch sell it back there. Rebbe Hoishiv Bezdin, Rebbe then later set yet another Bezdin. Look at 3 revisions on this rule. Later, Rebbe Hoishiv Bezdin v'nimnu and voted, She'im shasa b'fnei sekrikin shnayim esach. The bandit had it for 12 months, and Marshall didn't exercise his right to buy it back. He loses that right, and kol hakoydim likach zach, whoever buys it first gets it. Just since he gets it at a 25% reduction, aval nois in the Baalim Revia, he gives to Marshall 25%. So the Gemara says, Hashta baruge melchama ve'elach, Hashta baruge melchama lo yoy by Sikrikin. If during the time of the reign of terror of Titus there was no Sikrikin, me'aruge melchama ve'elach, when things are better, yesh ba Sikrikin? So the Gemara explains what this means, as I explained the Mishnah. Amr Yehuda lo danu ba din Sikrikin kama. There are no allowances that Marshall has rights on the field during the reign of terror. Because there he was afraid for his life, and therefore he gave it over wholeheartedly to the bandit. There were 3 phases. Gezerta kamaisa kol katalu. Whoever doesn't kill a Jew will get killed. Mitziasa kol dekatal laise abazuze. Whoever kills a Jew has to pay $4. But Traisa then. Later, called the kataliktalu. Whoever kills a Jew is killed. So during the first 2 phases, Hilka Kamaisa Mitziasa came into Katlai, since they indiscriminately kill. Marshall is so happy to get them away from his family that he gives it over without any thought of ever getting it back. Agav unse gomer o makne. He has in mind it should be his and leave me alone. But Traisa, during the last phase, where there was law in the land, Imre, Marshall reasons, in the Lishkal, now he'll take it, Lamacher Anamaro Tavana Lebedina. I'll bring him to court, and therefore Marshall has rights in the field, rights that we learned. Okay, Rabbi said we'll stop over here. Tomorrow we begin a fascinating Agadita. Please tell a friend. It's a good time to bring a friend. Tell them that they start now. They finish Sash in 7.5 years. That's a very good line, by the way. Whenever you start Daf Yomi, you finish Shash in 7.5 years. It's always good to start Daf Yomi. It really is.
Something on this